Sanhedrin Daf Pevav Amud Aleph, 6 lines down. Hagonev bino, our Mishnah said, if someone kidnapped your own son, Rabbi Ishmael said, you're Hayav. Ahmed Seir Patur, my time that Rabban Hakim, Ahmed Seir Patur, Amar Bayed, Amar Krak Yimmal Say, if you found if you were found kidnapping him. Tarat Matsu, that excludes someone who's already in your house. Amar Papala Bayed Me'ata, Ki Masai Ish, Rochev Me'eshav Baal. Our pasuk says, in regarding adultery, it says if a man is found with a woman who's married to another guy, does that mean also is excluding to a case where a woman is living together with the man? Could go in Shabbat Ploni, for example, like an apartment complex where the women are in the same building as other men? Of course not. So would that mean they're patur? Of course not. They can't be that. The Gemara says, Ana minim sabiyado kamin, we're learning from this part of the pasuk. He was found to have been in his hand. That in his hand. That fact that it said that again teaches you that it can't be his son. Marava hilkach. Therefore, hani mikre dartki matnu rabanan. Those who teach Torah to children, they're also considered in their possession. Uptir, they're also patur. If a rabbi kidnaps their student, they're not chayav mita because it's also considered commonly found. They're always in their possession. They're always taking care of them, like a parent. Ganad mitzvah haitzo, we gave him the case in Mishnah where someone kidnapped a half slave, half free man. Rabbi Yehuda says chayav, ham mitzvah patur. Tanat in Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda mer en la'avadim boshet. There's no such thing as an embarrassment for slaves, and that's why Rabbi Yehuda says you're patur. Sorry, you're chayav mita. Right, sorry. Pause. Rabbi Yehuda says there's no such thing as an embarrassment for slaves. I'm going to say there is. My time that Rabbi Yehuda amar kraki nasu anashim yachtav ish ve'achiv mentions the man and his brother are fighting. Mi sheyesh lo ahava yasa v'shein lo ahava. Slaves are not part of the brotherhood. Rabbanan ahiv hu b'mitzvot. Yes, a slave is considered part of the brotherhood because he does have some mitzvah like a woman. And regarding to kidnapping, hechi derish Rabbi Yehuda has explained pasuk savar me'achav la'afuk avadim. The pasuk of brothers excludes slaves. Bnei Yisrael, when it says Bnei Yisrael, l'm'uti mi she'hatziyo even zemen harin, also excludes someone who's a half. Bnei Yisrael. Again, it says from Bnei Israel. So therefore, since we have multiple exclusions, we have exclusion following another exclusion. And when we have back-to-back exclusions, since we excluded the same thing twice, it really includes that thing. And therefore, a person who's half slave, half free man will be chayav according to Rabbi Yehuda. How do they explain it? They say that when it says brother, does not exclude a slave, because it's still considered part of his brother regarding the mitzvah, like I said earlier. Bnei Israel says Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel. Excludes the half and half. Okay. Azra lo ganev nefesh minan is isur for kidnapping. Rabbi Yoshi Amar milo tiknov from the outside of the brot. Rabbi Yochanan says no milo yimacheru mi be'echeret evet. The Gemara look like this. It's not a stira. More kahashiv lehuda gneva. Rabbi Yoshi is bringing just the part of the isur of kidnapping. More kahashiv lemechira. And the other Rabbi Yochanan is teaching you the isur of selling the kidnapped victim. Okay, number 9. Lo tichnov beigonev nefashot hakonim leber. When it says don't steal, it means the person who is kidnapping. I told about beigonev nefashot kidnapping. Or maybe he's talking about stealing money. Amar, now we said, if you use one of the 13 ways that we learn Pesukim, Davar halamed me'nino, which I think is the 13th one, is the 12th one rather. That is, we learn based off context. Therefore, when it says don't steal, what is it talking about? Beneficial talking about capital cases. What are the previous capital cases in the Sanhedrin Daf when it says don't steal? Previously, it mentions adultery and murder. Therefore, it talks about stealing that will be killed for, which is kidnapping. There's no completely different explanation. He says, because we've had different cases in regards to money, and those pisukim of don't cheat, don't rob, etc. And he says, because over there mentions money, and then it says don't steal, therefore it's about money over there. Okay. Itmar. If you have, right, so huzmu, zomem, is tomat. If you have a guy who testified, 2 witnesses testified at someone that did a certain sin, and then they were caught lying by saying that someone else, 2 witnesses came and said, hey, how did you testify about February 1st? You were with us February 1st. Whatever they were trying to do, they get punished for. So now the problem is over here. If you have 2 separate witnesses, one testified on a person's kidnapping, another one testified on the selling, and then they're both zomed, Hizkiah says in Aragan they can't get executed. Rabbi Yochanan says in Aragan they do get executed. Hizkiah Mar Damar Rabbi Akiva. Hizkiah holds like Rabbi Akiva Damar Davar V'lo Hatzi Davar. Since each testimony is considered separate, one testified on the kidnapping, one testified on the selling. You need both in order to execute them, and therefore it's considered a half a testimony. Therefore, they can't be zomem on that for execution. You can do half, and therefore they can be executed. If the second set of witnesses in the case of Ben Sora, we said there's first defense of Ben Sora, they testify on him, 3 judges, they whip him. Second time, 23 judges, they kill him. If the second set comes, they're executed. Because the first witnesses said, right, meaning even though they couldn't do it themselves, but the thing is, the first witnesses say, no. We came first, we testified on him, that we try to give him makot. The second one says, they are doing a whole new thing on him. They are trying to actually kill him, therefore the second set could get killed. That's the case. If the witnesses of a kidnapped person being sold also should be executed, because the kidnapping itself, witnesses could say, no, we just wanted to give him makot. Same thing, the Gemara says no. Maybe my thing that Hezkiah say that you don't get malkut for kidnapping alone. But it says, Hezkiah whether or not you get malkut. But we said, and Rabbi Hezkiah holds that if you just kidnap without selling, you get malkut. From the fact that we said that you don't get executed, must be they actually getting malkut. Because he holds you getting executed. The whole you can't give malkut if it's talking about a case where you get executed. So therefore, we must hold that if Hizkiah holds that if you just kidnap a guy, you're chayav malkut. Now, if that's the case, how come he can't say, the witnesses can't say, no, we would just testified in the first time just to give him malkut? Rashi says, ihu lelaki. So now, if the guy does not get malkut, how can they get malkut if they testify falsely? So it must be Hizkiah does hold the guy gets malkut. So how do we explain everything? Everybody agrees that if they were convicted on false witness testimony on the kidnapping, on the sale rather, they're hayab mita. Keep the regarding the kidnapping itself. Hezkiah says no, not hayab. They're 2 separate acts, the kidnapping and the selling, and therefore the kidnapping you won't get killed for. Yochanan says no, they can't get executed if you testify on the kidnapping because the kidnapping leads to the sale, and that is the whole avira, and therefore they can get executed. And regarding Ben Sora, he would hold that they're actually not considered the same thing because they can actually say it's a separate court case. The first time giving malkut for Ben Sora, they don't get executed. And there's an agreement by Ben Samar, Ben Samar, and there's an argument by Ben Samar. What's going on? First time, how come they agree by Ben Samar that the first witnesses, if they get zomemd, they don't get executed? Because they could just say, I want to give him malkut. The other time they agree is the second set of witnesses, if there's a mint, they get executed. Because the first one say, no, we came to malkut. Second one is trying to kill him. You have to kill him for that. If 2 witnesses say that he stole money for us to eat, the other one says, no, he stole us. He stole meat and wine from us. If both of them were zomimd, then they kind of both have half of this conviction because he has to steal money and meat and wine. What if he only stole half? So they're each providing half. That's a machloket. Hizkiah would say partial is not good, and therefore patur. Yochanan says yes, you mush it together and they can get executed. If witnesses testifying about a kidnapping and they get huzumant, and they're not executed, because he could just say, no, I was selling my slave. Meaning, if you can't prove that I kidnapped him because you're only testifying on the sale, who says he's mine? Maybe I'm a slave. Or I said, who is the following? He'll only do half. You have to have a full matter and not a half. And therefore, since you can't establish the first half, that he kidnapped him, then he's pasur. Maybe because he holds Rabbanan, he would say that they get executed. Hamitoch come out because he holds that. Oh, sorry, but you can't do that because Ravasi himself said that you can't execute him because he could say I'm selling my slave. So how does that work? The Gemara says, oh, if you look there, not even Rabbanan would agree. But lo atu it talks when there's no witnesses to the kidnapping. That's when you're patur. There's no there's no testimony at all. There's no knowledge at all that the guy was kidnapped. And how can two guys say, "Oh, you sold this guy that you kidnapped"? Who said I kidnapped him? Where it says, "Lo tzricha, the afagav the atu lebasov," because even if they came afterward, the kidnapping witnesses came afterward. You can't execute him afterward. What's the حدوش؟ لو tzricha the kaim رمز من رمز زي ما بتنا رمز الملتي أكمش من رمز العلم يكلمه. You might think when the witnesses of the testimony for the sale are there, and they're hinting for the witnesses of the sale to come. Opposite. The witnesses of the uh, sale were testifying, and they had the witnesses of the kidnapping to come afterward. They're motioning to them like, "Yeah, you're together with us." But because he testified on the sale first, it discredits the whole system, and therefore not hayata. Zaken mamrei api betin. If a Tamil Chacham argues against betin, shneim izacham mitap. He gets hinek. Shneimar ki pelim mechad avar al mishpat. Shneimar betin dinim yusham. There were three courts in Jerusalem. Echad shel petach habayit, one by the Bet Hamikdash, ve'echad shel petach Azara, one by the Azara, ve'echad shel b'shel Hazid, and one by the chamber on the top of the of Harabayit. Ba'in lezeh sha'al petach Harabayit le'omer. They take this Tamil Chacham and his argument. They go to the Bedin by the Harabayit, and he talks about it. I learned this, and they learned this. I taught this, they taught that. Im Shamov, they say, okay, I hear. I'm about to tell them, they tell him. The halakha is correct or incorrect. But if they did not hear this yet, they bring to the next higher judge. If they know the halakha, then they can answer him. If they don't know the answer, they bring him to the bedin that's on the top bedin of the Lishkat HaGazit. Shem menu said Torah the Holy Side. That's where Torah goes to Bnei Israel. Shneimar min hakom mashu asher yibchar Hashem. Hazal Yiro. If now Tamil Chacham, assuming he gets there, and this Tamil Chacham gets bashed, I say no, you're wrong. So now he got told by the top bedin that he's wrong. So if he goes back to his town, Shana v'demei b'derech sheyal amen, he taught the way he thought he was right against what bedin told him. Patur. He's patur. If he just taught it. The imhura asot. If he told people this is the halakha, this is what you should do, meaning he could say his opinion, no problem. If he says this is the halakha to do, then he's hayav. As Zakim Amresh, Neymar, the Haisha Sheyaseh b'zadon, eno chayav at sheyarei la'asot. He only chayav if he instructs him to do it. Tamid sheyahara la'asot patur. If there's a student sitting there in the same process, he's patur because he's not a zaken, he's not has to be 40 years old. Nimsa humro kulo, humro kulo. It seems that the fact that we're strict on him, that he's not considered Tamid Hacham until he's 40, actually saves his life in the event that he rebels under 40 years old. Tamranan. Ki yipalim mechad davar. It's referring to the top betin. Mimecha from you, is the person who gives advice in regards to the moon and the extended months. The Mishpat, the din is din of Gerashava. Ben dam regarding bloods. Ben dam dan Nziva halachot regarding to blood of nidar, childbirth blood, or blood of ziva. Ben din the din. Ben dinin of ben imrot, whether it's an argument regarding to capital cases, money cases, or malkut cases. Din malkut. Ben nega lenega. Ben neg adam nege batim. Nege batim is referring to tzraat of people, houses, or clothing. Divrei matters. Elu haramim ha'arechim v'hdeshot is referring to herem vows, erechim vows, or making the hekdesh vows. Rivot arguments. This is referring to the making the sotah drink regarding the egla aruva or the mitzvah becoming tahor. B'sharei gates. Regarding leket shecha and peah. V'kamta you should go up bedin. This you go from your bedin. V'alita you should go to the higher one. The Mishnah bedin dash gavoa that teaches you bedin dash is higher than Eretz Yisrael. The Eretz Yisrael gavoa. Nikol Arasot. Eretz Yisrael is the highest of all lands. Ela makom to the place. Makom gorem. It teaches you that the only time you can have this halakha of zakim mamre is the top betin l'shkat hakazit. That's where if he ignores any of the bedin and instructs, he's not chayav. Only if he instructed against the top bedin that told him not to do that. Okay. So that was the pasuk teaching you all of the halachot that the zaken mamre can rebel. And like we said, if he just teaches it against bedin, not a problem. If he teaches to instruct the people to do against bedin, that's when he's chayav. Based on the Midrash, we said earlier that Beit Midrash is higher, and it makes sense. The Tiv Alita should go up. And Eretz Yisrael Gavon Mechar Tov Min Aliyah. I know that Eretz Yisrael is higher than all the lands. The Torah that we didn't bring a proof from that in the pasuk just now in the Brayta, where it says the Tiv Lechen Hinei Yamim Ba'im Min Hashem ולא יאמרו עוד חי השם אשר העלה את בני ישראל מארץ מצרים. כי אם חי השם אשר העלה ואשר הביא את זרע בית ישראל מארץ צפון ויאכל את אשר הייתם שם וישוב על אדמתם. We see from this pasuk, all the lands outside Eretz Israel will be brought up to Eretz Israel. The fact that all lands will lead up must be Eretz Israel considered the highest. Amen.